Evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us tonight, Nick. Really excited about this one. So I'll just introduce with what a little bit about Nick. Well, it's Nicholas, but he has said we can call him Nick tonight. So, Nicholas Haines is the creator of the Vitality Test, as well as an international speaker, author, strategist, and teacher in Chinese energetics. He is also co-founder of the No More Boxes movement. Through his work at the Five Institute, Nicholas has been engaged by a diverse range of companies, individuals and organisations, from leadership teams at large corporations through the NHS hospitals, educational institutes and international governments to address issues around relationships, cultures, communication, diversity, empowerment and kindness. You'll also find him passionately sharing the wisdom of the five energies and how they'll apply in our everyday life and relationships within various books, programs, courses, webinars and live events. His work is based on nearly 40 years experience in this field and over 50,000 one-on-one consultations helping and exploring how to love living as you. How to love living as you. Yes, so welcome, Nick. This is so good of you to join us.
Thank you.
The whole, about the Chinese metal year of the ox was, got my attention because that's quite relevant for me this year.
Yeah, well, that introduction made me sound very interesting, so thank you for that.
Wow, you must be very busy from that introduction.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, thank you. It's going to be really interesting. It's a mini workshop really, and we'll be going into breakout rooms and so I'll let you explain that. But yes, thank you.
Yeah. What we've got is I've got some slides that I'm going to go through. So I'm going to present some content and we're going to be exploring the year of the metal ox. And we're going to explain what that means for you. And we're going to look at some quite interesting things that are going on within the world. And the idea is that once you can understand the world from an energy perspective and yourself, then you can start to see what's likely to happen, how you can play it. You can look to see what would be your natural triggers, what would be your stress points. So we're going to be exploring that. Then when I've done through the main presentation, what we're going to be doing is we're going to pause and we're going to then take some questions and explore some things and how they might be interacting with you. As Jackie said, we've got breakout rooms, lots of different things. Now, what I'll do at various different times, I'll ask you just to pop things in the chat area. So if any of this is kind of making sense to you, think, oh, that's interesting, put comments in the chat area because that's really good to see. If you have any particular questions, just write those down. And when we come to the Q&A section right at the end, we'll either take them live or you can pop them in the chat area. If they're in the chat area, as we're going along, they tend to get a little bit lost. So any questions, just write them down and we shall have some fun. So I shall share my screen now. So far, so good. Here we go. There. So what I'll do is I'll go through this content, stop at various different places, and take it from there. Let me just hide this here. There we are. So we're going to be exploring the year of the metal ox. We're going to look at what are its characteristics, the qualities, and what does it mean for you, your family, the community, and the planet, and say kind of what's coming ahead. So this year started in February the 12th. So we're about, it's over a month into it, and I'm going to say some things that we'll have seen appearing already. Now, all the slides that I have that I'm using in this presentation, I will put on this URL. And we'll also, I'm sure Jackie will also send that out. So when you go to this URL, if you're watching the recording, you'll have all the slides there for you. And I've got a few little surprise gifts as well. Now, what we're going to cover, we're going to break this down into four main parts. First part, we're going to set the scene. If you're not familiar with Chinese energetics and understanding the year, we'll get you right up to speed in that first section. Then the second part, we're going to start understanding the energy of now, what's actually going on at the moment within this year, a bit of context. Then in part three, we're going to give you 3 guiding principles for 2021. And then in part 4, we're going to have a conversation. We'll do some Q&A, give some tools and tips based around my nearly 40 years experience. And as Jackie said, over 50,000 consultations, doing one-on-one consultations. So we're going to explore that in part 4. So let's start off by setting the scene. So this comes from ancient Chinese wisdom, and the Chinese were obsessive about exploring flow and time and trying to understand and trying to actually understand the world. And they were obsessive in their recording and their observation. And from that, they came around the Chinese zodiac, exploring what was actually going on, this large kind of movement of planets. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at 2021 in terms of this 5,000 years of exploring flow, time, and understanding the world. The 2021 Metal Ox year. Now, this is how these years work. The Chinese zodiac is split into 12 animals, and each animal has a certain set of characteristics. So each year is associated with one animal, but it's also associated with one of the 5 energies, one of the 5 elements, which means that each year will occur once every 60 years. So the last time we were in a Metal Ox year was 1961. Now, one of the things that you recognize that each year has a certain theme to it, a flow, it's an undercurrent, a vibration. So each year has kind of certain characteristics to it. And as well as each year having certain characteristics to it, each block of 12 years also has a theme, a flow, an undercurrent, a vibration to it. So the block of time that we're in at the moment is dominated by metal energy. And I'll explain what metal energy is if you're not familiar. It starts out with 2 metal energy years. So we've just come out of one. 2020 was a metal rat year. We're in a metal ox year. So it starts, so that in a way, what it does is it starts to ask us some questions. This is like the opening chapters. And then the 12-year block finishes with 2 metal energy years. And that's almost like the examination. We're being tested. Now, one of the things that really is important here is that context matters. So although 1961 was a Metal Ox year, we're sitting in a slightly different context than 2021. So although the year, the Metal Ox and this metal energy block of time has certain characteristics, the context in which we're sitting in will give slightly different things. So in 1961, this 60-year block of time, they'd come out of two world wars. Whereas in 2021, we've got a different set of things that have gone on. We've seen division, we've seen polarization, we've seen separation, we've seen a different sort of thinking. We've seen lots of different things. So context basically matters. So in 1961, they were exploring their time in the evolution. They'd come out of these 2 world wars. So peace and love was important. And then there was this kind of upsurge in the kind of civil rights movement of how can we create equality, how can we create some balance. Whereas this time we haven't had the world wars, but we have got something major going on. We've got a planet that is in crisis in terms of the climate, and we've seen incredible division going on. But we've also seen parallels with 1961, 1960, 1961 with that civil rights movement. We've seen a revisiting of civil rights, etc. We've seen that, exploring that again, perhaps going back and looking at it again from a different perspective. So the context is different. There's also one absolutely major thing that is going on now that wasn't even appearing in 1961. And that was, as well as years having certain energies to them there and going through these 60-year cycles, we also have other things that are going through cycles as well. But instead of changing each year or each 12-year block of time or each 60 years, we've got these three large cycles: geopolitics, consumerism, spirituality, are in a certain energy. And I have tracked back thousands of years looking at this. And what we actually have going on at the moment within this phase of time of life that we're living, particularly building up now, we've got geopolitics, consumerism, spirituality are all trying to move into a different energy. So we're seeing a shift from one place to another. And like I say, I've tracked back and I can't see a time where we've seen these three areas moving, that the energy is shifting. So for example, I'll just pick out one just to explain what I mean by this. So geopolitics was in a fire energy state. And fire energy is about love, it's about passion, it's about in the moment. So democracy is a typical fire energy type of geopolitics, and we've been in a fire energy phase of geopolitics, and our politics is all based around love. Love me, I'll promise things, I might not keep my promises, but it's all based around love, it's all based around popularity. But we're seeing, and we've seen that, and we've seen that exploring what happens when populism, democracy bump together, what happens when social media bumps together. And we're seeing a sudden shift in our politics, moving into a different energy, into an earth energy, which is a different quality. But we're also seeing consumerism and spirituality shifting as well. So we've got a massive cultural shift going on at the moment, which we will explore. So that's the context in which we're sitting in. Now, one of the things that's important for us as individuals is, because these years occur once every 60 years, most of us don't really have a lot of experience about how to handle the year. So last time I was in a metal ox year, I was 1.5 years old. I don't have a lot of memories. Even if you were 10 or 15, you're not in an adult form. So this, in a way, for many of us, this is our first true experience. And we certainly saw with the metal rat year that we had in 2020, it was quite a shock for many of us, although that energy had already been before in 1960. So let's explore the energy of this particular year, this 2020 metal ox year, within the context that we're currently sitting in. So what we'll do is we'll look at this year and we'll say, okay, we'll use this as a map. So we have the context in which we're sitting in, that we just talked about. Then we've got these very large, slow cycles of time are moving as well. So that's where we're sitting in as well. We're also sitting in this block of time, this 12 years dominated by metal energy, which we'll look at. We've also got the energy of this particular year. And then right in the middle of that, we've got you. We've got you interacting with this particular year. And like I say, many of us don't have true experience of how to handle this year. So all that energy, in a way, has a certain vibration, and that vibration resonates. It resonates with you. And this is a bit like a tuning fork. When you hit a tuning fork and you get a certain vibration, it will start to resonate with something similar around it, a tuning fork of a similar dimension. So the energy of this year, this block of time, this change will vibrate with you. It will resonate with you. It will interact with your stars, east and west, the numerology, and the essence of who you are. Now, the essence of who you are is the parental influence that you had. And also, as the Chinese believe, that when you came to Earth, you made a promise. You made a promise to do something. And that is included in the essence of who you are, what you've been exploring, what you're struggling with, what you're learning, what you're expressing, what you're doing. So at this particular stage, you can think, oh my God, this is so complicated. So we've got the context. We've got these large cycles of time. We've got we've got this 12-year block of time. We've got the metal energy, we've got the element of the year, we've got the animal of the year, and it's interacting with my east and west stars, my numerology, the essence of who I am, the promise I made when I came to Earth. How on earth can I make sense of this year? I think the easiest way to do it, rather than trying to look at your east and western stars, your numerology, your essence, etc., I think the easiest way to look at it is in terms of your vitality test profile, because your vitality test profile is the accumulation, the assimilation of all the things, your east, your west stars, your vibration, the essence, and it also contains everything. It has what it is that the promise that you made when you came to Earth. It gives you all the gifts that you need to fulfill that promise. And it also gives you some challenges. Now, it's worth saying at this particular stage, the promise we made when we came to Earth, that could be something as simple as this time learning to love yourself. Or one of my big things I'm learning, expressing this time when I come to Earth, is to get the balance right between looking after other people and looking after myself. So that's one of the things I've been exploring. And when you've done 50,000 one-on-one consultations, you've got to start to try and get that right. There's other things that we have within our promise. So I think your vitality test is a great way to look at how you will interact with the energy of this particular year. So when you take the vitality test, what you'll have is a diagram, a representation of these 5 energies. Now we have all 5 energies in us, they just have different levels. Where you have your strongest energies, that would tend to be your focus or your way of seeing the world. Whereas the energies that you're lowest in will tend to be where you have your blind spots or your lack of focus. So again, it's really useful to know that actually this energy I'm low in, I'm going to have a blind spot around this. So I might want to be aware, or this energy I'm really high in, and I might get triggered or overexcited by this. So if you haven't taken the vitality test, it's completely free. Just go to 5institute.com and it will be there for you. So that's the context, the looking at the setting the scene. So now let's explore the energy of now. So we're in a metal ox year. We'll split this up into 2 halves. First of all, look at this metal energy, because remember, we're also in a metal energy block of time dominated by metal energy. So metal energy is broken down into, I think, kind of 4 main things we can look at this particular stage. So first of all, each energy is related to a particular season, and metal energy is related to autumn, to fall. And at that particular stage, things disconnect, they end, they finish. So metal energy year, metal energy block of time, we've got something going on around ending and finishing. Now, when you take the vitality test, you'll recognize that there is something I call the big question. And this is when you have a lot of metal energy, your big question will be what's missing or what isn't done. So each energy will give us a big question. Metal energy, what's missing, what isn't done, what's incomplete. So within this year, that question will come up. We'll see things within this metal energy year. Last year was metal energy as well. This year is as well. A searching or a sense that something is missing, or a sense that something is incomplete. So when I was first started to talk about the metal rat year back in December 2019, I said something's going to go on that's going to be really heavy around stuff being missing, stuff being incomplete, isolation, separation, disconnection. That's the very nature of metal energy. It's the experience. With metal energy, there is also a desire for simplicity, a desire for perfection, of less is more. So one of the things that people were experiencing right at the beginning of this metal energy period that we've moved into is a desire for less, a desire for simplicity. So I'm curious if you can go back in time or to the beginning of 2020 and remember, or perhaps you still have an urge now, a desire to have less, to say, actually, I've got too many things, a desire to clear, a desire to have a simpler existence. And suddenly thinking, although you might not have a lot of stuff, sometimes we can suddenly feel like we're surrounded by all this stuff. I just got too much stuff. I've got too much stuff. That's what metal energy does. It gives us an overwhelmed feeling that there is just too much, and this desire for simplicity, this desire for things being black and white in some level. So we saw some black and white thinking because we had this desire for simplicity coming out. This is right and this is wrong, and polarization, separation arising. So pop in the chat area if you noticed anything yourself in terms of wanting to throw things away. Now, the third thing is metal energy is about letting go. It's about loss. It's about disconnection. And my goodness, we've experienced that. We've had to let go of so many things. We have had different levels of loss and different levels of disconnection in a way that I think for many of us, we've never experienced this before. Now, if you go back to the 1960s, one of the things that they did had an experience of letting go. One of the things that they were letting go was the grief from 2 world wars. This movement forward, there's very different. The late 1959 through to 1960, there was a sudden shift, and in the 60s, in this metal energy block of time, this sudden desire to let go. Now, was that easy? No, it was, again, there was a polarization and a separation that we saw there, because all these people were saying, look, how can you go around with your brightly colored clothes and your happy-go-lucky thing and your freedom, and you're riding around your scooters and you're smoking your sweet Mary Jane and all this stuff? Don't you know people died in world wars for you? People died for you, and you have no respect? So people were really stuck in the grief, and other people just let go of it. So there was this split, this disconnection between parts of society, because some people could let go and some people couldn't. But on the whole, we shifted from one era into another. We went from earthly beings to start to travel and trying to get to the stars. So there was a letting go, and we've seen that. We've seen that ourselves in our version of the 1960-61. We've seen that appearing. And the final thing with the essence of metal energy is assessing value and eliminating of waste. And again, we've been given an experience to say, what is it that we value? And we've had, this is a time to work out what it is that we value, and also to recognize our own value, or to struggle and say, actually, I no longer have this role, I no longer have this job, I no longer am doing this, what is my value? Or saying, actually, you know what, this really matters to me. It now matters to me because I don't have it. So I'm actually focusing. So we've been given an experience to really work out what we value, and to hopefully recognize our own value, or explore that in a deeper way. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to kind of move into some breakout rooms and have a bit of an exploration. So before we move you into the breakout rooms, I just want to give a little bit of advice. So when you arrive in the breakout room, there's going to be other people who are going to be coming in or be there with you. It's really, really important when you arrive in the room and you see someone there, particularly if you know them, look really pleased to see them. That's really important. Arrive there. Oh, hi, look pleased to see them. Obviously, don't look too pleased, otherwise you'll just appear weird. Okay, so, but just a nice bit of happiness when you see them. So when we get into the breakout rooms, what we want to be doing is exploring this question. What did you start to value last year that you didn't truly value before? You might have thought you valued it, but actually you had an experience that thought, actually, I truly value this. I truly value this. What was that you had? So what I'm going to do now is I've stopped sharing my screen. Stop sharing my screen there. Let's get it right. And Jackie, I think you have to pop things into breakout
Yeah,
rooms.
so it's saying 32. So are we saying 8 rooms of 4?
Well, let's have 3 people in. Let's have 3 people in a room.
Okay. So
and then we'll.
So 10,
let's have
11,
10 or 10. Let's do 11 rooms. Let's
Okay.
do 11 rooms. So if we pause the recording here as well, Jackie, otherwise everyone's watching. We'll just have a. I'm going to put those there. Now, this is a little bit of technology, so we'll see how this works. So on your computer, or you can do this on a phone if you've got one that will allow to do it. What I want you to do is I want you to go to menti.com. So that's menti.com, menti.com, and then put in the code, which I've also put in the chat area as well. Put in the code 2529211. That's menti, menti.com. And then you put in the code 2529211. So, and there you've got an option to put in just a couple of words or a few words. What did you start to value last year? And what they'll do is they'll appear in the as a word cloud. So you just, if everything works well. So we'll go to menti.com and use the code 2529211 and just put down what you started to value last year. What did you start to value last year? There's always a
Shall I
big
pause
question.
it again for a minute?
Yeah, well, no, it's lovely to see these forms. Here we go.
Great.
Look at
No, it's starting to come up.
valuing time, the sky. Oh, I love that. The garden, night, peace, family, flowers. Bless. Yeah.
2529 cannot be found.
So it's 25.
Yeah.
29211.
211.
Yeah, 211. 2529211.
Right.
You got it?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So
Home, the physical-based technology, freedom. The interesting family is. I've done this quite, as Jackie knows, I've done this quite a few times, and it's interesting. Family often sits there at the middle. The sunshine, the natural world, flexibility. Myself, I love that. Peace. Oh, peace comes into the middle. Love it.
Right.
So that means most people are writing peace if that comes up as the largest.
So the way this works, it will make the words that are repeated the most times will become the strongest.
Oh, excellent.
So we know that most people the peace is a popular one. Technology, freedom, time, home. Those big words are all technology.
This is very clever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's lovely. It gives you a sense of how we are as a group, how we are as a community, about what we experience, that we value peace. And I have to say, I got to have a different level of peace. I really got to value that last year than this year. Valuing Zoom, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, really, I do value that.
Yeah, my books, the sea. Oh, Someone of my own heart.
And Norma's saying she couldn't get in, but she values family, nature, my own surroundings, less noise, still
Oh,
having a job and making friends on Zoom.
perfect.
Lovely.
I think I love that.
Definitely.
My surroundings. My dog has just got slightly bigger. So I've always got some dogs, my sensing
Oh,
world.
see, that would be me as well, putting that on.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't value him any more than I did, to be honest. So.
Yeah. This is lovely. This is lovely to see. So what we can do is we can allow you to just carry on. This is, oh, fantastic.
Isn't
So
it?
we'll allow this to carry on forming, and I shall explore a little bit more content with you. Oh, I love this. Love it. Well, garden is leaking slightly, is getting up there. Right, let's go. I could watch this forever.
Brilliant.
And what I'll do on that page.
I'm on a Zoom call. Can I call you back?
Yes, do feel free.
Bye.
So what I'll do is on the page that I'll put all the content in the slides. I'll copy those pictures and I'll give you those pictures so you can see the final thing.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are. So that was just doing a bit of an exploration about that metal energy, seeing what we value, experiencing some aspect of isolation, etc. Now let's say kind of what's the ox all about, because that's the other half of the year. We had metal energy, block of time and year, but we've got the ox, which is a kind of a new beast, very different from the rat that we've just come out of. So essence of ox. As by nature, they're very consistent, plodding and hardworking. So the energy of this year will be more likely to be consistent, plodding and hardworking. Now, if some of these aren't ringing true just yet, then when we do the next bit, you'll understand why we've got a bit of a mix-up going on at the moment, energy-wise. So oxes have that consistent, plodding nature. They're also, as years, it's very disciplined. As an energy, it's about staying on track. There's this kind of steady approach. So kind of consistent, plodding, disciplined, steady approach. Energy-wise, oxes are very conservative, very traditional by nature. So an ox year, remember these years occur once every 12 years. But they only associate with the metal energy once every 60 years. So, and the metal energy will change the nature of it slightly. But by nature, oxes have this conservative, traditional nature. And then they have this slightly kind of wild card side. Those first three are very steady, easy, nice energies, solid, plodding along, really steady. And then they've got this energy as well, that they can charge, they can rampage, and they can lock horns. So you'd think, on balance, you'd say, you know what, 2021 is going to be a steadier year. We've come out of a rat year, which is with the metal energy and all the isolation loss, working out what it is we value, and then rats can be very scurrying, very fast, the speed at which last year went was absolutely incredible. And we see the rat energy when they're backed into corner and get quite vicious. So it's a bit more of a scurrying year last year. We're just getting by. Whereas this year would appear to be more consistent. However, we've got something happening at the moment. And there are 4 big influences that mean this year has some challenges to it. Should we allow them in our lives? It's not a given. No year is a good year or a bad year. It's kind of how we handle it. You can say that this 2020 was a really tough year, but there was also very wonderful things in it as well. But there are 4 big influences that are going to affect that steady nature of the ox. The first one is a year that we're going to have coming up, 2026. 2024. That particular year is a wood dragon year. Now, if you notice all the animals are very earthly, got pigs and horses and sheep and snakes and monkeys. And then you've got one outlier, and that's a dragon. And dragons in Chinese culture are considered to be messengers from the heavens. They bring from information, ideas, things from the heavens down to earth. That's what they're considered to be. Now, the messages that they bring will be associated with the element, with the energy that they bring with. So the last dragon year we had was 2012, and that was a water dragon year. And water energy is the only energy that leaves its mark on the earth. So 2012, there were lots of things people had as experiences of when they got messages about purpose, messages about sustainability, messages about what they should be doing. Whereas this 2024 is a wood dragon year, and wood energy is all about new. It's all about innovation. It's all about fresh. It's about disruption. It's about injustice. It's about things like civil rights, but it has a newness to it, spring energy. It's all about the new. So what we have here in 2021 is we have an interaction going on between a very traditional year that's very ploddy and stable and traditional. Things need to go back to how they were, and let's have old-fashioned values, let's keep things as they are, and let's have traditions. And then we've got this incredible new energy, a wood dragon year, already kind of beginning to kind of influence us. So at this particular point, what we're seeing is we're seeing the meeting place in this year, the meeting place between the old and the new. And we'll have that to a certain extent next year and the year after. But because of the very traditional nature of oxes, we're seeing the first real expression of it, of this clashing. And remember, this meeting of two things can do what oxes, bulls do, which is that they lock horns, that they can have people start to really go head to head about things. And we've already seen some of that going on, people locking horns, getting very entrenched view on things. And also we have within an ox year, we have oxes see red. So there are things that will really, this is a year where if you're not careful, and you can really lock horns with people, and you can be triggered, you can have rows and arguments about things that don't need to be argued about. Because remember, metal energy, we've got the second influence as well as this new meeting the old. We've also got metal energy, a metal energy year. Metal energy is about looking and seeing what's missing and what isn't right, what isn't perfect, what isn't okay. So we can have this very black and white thinking, and people can lock horns over this fixed position. But there is this sense that something is missing. That's what metal energy makes us feel, that something is missing. Something's being stolen from us. Something's being taken from us. So as this energy started to build up, we saw in America, for example, they said, I know something is missing. Something is being stolen from us. The election was stolen. Will give us the evidence, but there isn't, but I just know it in my heart. I just know that something has been taken from me. And we're seeing this thing, or this sense of things are being removed from us. And in reality, there are some things, but there's also a much bigger sense. So that can create that real locking of horns between the new and the old, and then this sense that something is being taken from us. Then the third influence we've got going on is we've come out of a metal rat year, and metal rat years are the fastest years in the 60-year cycle. And it also, the year before it, 2019, was the slowest year in the cycle. And the 2020 was the fastest year. So the contrast last year was just breathtaking, the speed at which things happened, from a very slow year to an incredibly fast year, and the chaotic nature and the disconnection and all the sudden changes. There is no year 2019 to 20, there's no year that there is such a massive change. Same as in 1959 to 1960, that was again a massive change. So we're tired. Many of us are really tired because we went through a busy, busy year with vast amounts of change and different things going on. We were asked to let go what it is that we value, and we're tired. So our tolerance to deal with stuff is less. So again, we're seeing more locking horns because people are tired. And we also saw in the rat year, when rats get backed into a corner, they get really nasty. So we saw some really vicious stuff going on. But we also saw incredible kindness. Rats are the kindest animals. So we saw breathtaking kindness within communities where people were being looked after, food was being dropped off, charities were setting up, WhatsApp groups within streets and communities were looking after each other. The kindness we saw last year in 2020 was breathtaking. And the squabbling was, and the sense of stuff being missing. I mean, we thought it was toilet paper at one point and we started hoarding that. Then the fourth influence is that what we have going on at the moment, in that we have spring, which is wood energy. And we're coming in the northern hemisphere. We're in spring, and spring, the wood energy has a characteristic to it. And at the beginning of spring, everything is kind of locked up and held tight. So there is a tension at the moment. There is a tension which creates more locking of horns. And this desire, wood energy, the big question is, am I free? Are we free? This big question, this thing about freedom. And at the same time, wood energy, this spring phase that we're in, although we're in a metal energy year, metal energy block of time, the phase of the year we're in is wood energy, it's spring. And there's wood energy has incredible imagination and creativity. So you might be having all sorts of ideas, or you might be struggling thinking, I'm feeling stuck. I don't have any ideas, or I have 101 ideas. Or feeling like things are out of control. Wood energy hates things to be out of control, so I just need to control things a bit more. Or this idea of creativity and freedom. And then the emotional for wood energy is anger. So we're more likely at the moment to be seeing that, particularly if the anger is about black and white thinking. So what we have here is a very complicated time with all these influences. And you think, God, Nick, this is so complicated. And it is, and that's why for many of us, we're experiencing great ups and downs and emotions and changes, and it can be a struggle for many people. And at the same time, we're, as we say, we're appreciating what it is that we value, and we've seen this incredible kindness. So if we kind of pull this time together. So we're in a metal energy year, and we're in a metal energy block of time. And we've looked at what that is, searching for what's missing, simplicity, perfection, letting go, disconnection, and working out what it is that we value and getting rid of stuff, things that no longer are of value. So we've got that. We've also got this ox energy with this consistent, ploddy, steady, hard-working energy, traditional, and a bit of the rampage. But then we've got the influence of this new energy coming in, which creates a bit of a thing. Then a battle between the old and the new. Then we've also got geopolitics, which is trying to move energies. We've got consumerism, spirituality, which is trying to move energies. And this doesn't happen. Hasn't happened for thousands of years. And I don't ever seen when this has happened together. So we've been born and we're existing in a time where there is massive upheaval. And then we've had the rat year we've just come out of, and we've seen that viciousness. And then to top it all, we've got a bit of spring energy that's getting people a little bit uptight. So you have to say it's a lot going on at the moment. So the question might be that we have, well, how do I handle this? But the question will, well, okay, tell me, is this a good year or a bad year? Well, as a year, there is no year quite like this, because is it a good year or is it a bad year? Well, it just really depends. It really depends how you approach it. It could be really quite tough if you get triggered by stuff, or it could be very sunny and happy. It just depends upon which part of the picture you look at, depending upon what you actually see. So if we can step back And some of the reason I've been working really hard, sharing all this content in all sorts of different places, to just get people to say, well, we need to keep stepping back to try and see the big picture and look for the triggers, look for the things. So stepping back is vitally important. So let's look at the guiding principles that we have for 2021. 3 guiding principles. First one is keep it steady. Plod and plough along. Oxes, by their very nature, do their best work plodding along, ploughing fields, preparing the ground, doing stuff. Sure, when you plough the field, stuff comes up, stuff comes to the surface, and this is a time to plod along, to kind of do the stuff that you haven't quite got done, to prepare the ground, just get a few things ready, get things sorted. It's a very, very kind of steady time. It's also a time, because we've got this metal energy, to kind of let go of some stuff. But it's a very ploddy, steady time. That's the way to handle it. To not get too triggered by stuff. Also, one of the things that oxes do really, really well is they work really, really well in pairs. They work really, really well together. So this is a time where you can really, when you bond with someone or you form a community, it has incredible power. So like this community that Jackie has here, there is something that goes on when like-minded people pull together. We saw that with that wondrous thing going on in 2020 when people pulled together. And we also saw when people were backed into a corner. But this is a year to really kind of pull together. And one of the things that I think is really valuable within the vitality test is there is no energies that are bad together. Every energy can get on. You've just got to know the energies, know what they need, what's the big question. So if someone's big question is, am I free? And someone's big question is, what's missing? You've got to kind of know that. So I've got a present for you in order to help support you. 2019, in preparation for this time, I wrote a book, The Art of Kind and Flowing Relationships, a practical guide to deal with your differences and create happy relationships that last. And it's based on the energies and my 40 years in clinical practice, my 50,000 one-on-one consultations. It's kind of in that book about how do we get on together? How do we create kind and flowing relationships? Chapter 5 is the secret of living with each energy. And it says, okay, this energy, you kind of might want to do this. This energy, you kind of might want to do this, to kind of make sure that you can understand each other. So I have as a gift for you, I'm going to give you chapter 5 of the book, Living with Each Energy. And I'll put it on the page where I'm going to put all the other slides, put the slides and the cloud. So that's there for you. And if you listen to the video recording, you can go there and have that free book as well. A bit of a kind of personal development tip here, a bit of a thought here. And it's in terms of keeping it steady, some support for you with that. And that is that actually you already know how to do this. Because what we've done is we have just come out of a 12-year block of time dominated by earth energy. And earth energy is all about communities, it's all about learning, it's all about understanding. That's why we saw the rise of social media, we saw the rise of online education, we saw communities forming together, and we also saw people going tribal into the little fixed communities. But earth energy is about learning, is about understanding, is about education, and there is just a vast amount of information. So for the last 12 years, you will have been educated or given the opportunity to be educated within mindfulness, within relaxation techniques, within different stuff. Whether or not we did the work is a different matter. But in order for you to have a steady and keep calm and still, there is the information there for you. You will, I promise you, you will have been given it. You might not have dug in and done the work. And this is an ideal time to do that work. And one of the things about metal energy is it's efficient. It's the most efficient energy. So work out what's the 20% of stuff that gives you 80% of the results. So I know myself, I have a lot of earth energy. If I don't keep my diet good and healthy, then I wobble. And I just have fire energy, so it's good to meditate. So I meditate each day and keep my diet and good. And that keeps me steady. So dig into some of the information that you've had. We've also got stuff at the 5 Institute to support you with the energies as well. The second guiding principle is release the old and be open to the new. There is, out of this 60-year cycle, there are 2 years, this last year we've just had and this year, which are the best years to let go of stuff. And it might be letting go of limiting beliefs. It might be letting go of old stories you're telling yourself. It might be letting go of things that you were hurt in the past. It might be letting go of regret. There is no better time than last year and this year to let go. There is no easier time to let go of this stuff and be released from it. You think 1960s, that's when they start letting go of the grief from 2 world wars. So it is a time to let go. And that's one of your guiding principles, to release stuff, to let it go. And don't fall into the trap, think, well, I've tried to this, or be triggered by things, people winding you up, and think, I can't, I'm annoyed at the moment. Just keep going at it. There is no easier, no better time. And the dividends are incredible. And in terms of the new stuff, because we will see new stuff arriving, and it can be very, very challenging, but I think I'm approaching it just with curiosity. And one of the things that we have when things are forming in a new state is that they will be imperfect in their formation. However, we're in a metal energy year and a metal energy block of time, and that's all about perfection. So don't fall into the trap of thinking, yeah, but that isn't very good. It's not. Things are forming, and they're forming in an imperfect state. So our change in our geopolitics will be forming in an imperfect state. Our changing, our letting go, our releasing, our new way of looking at things are all forming, and they will be imperfect. Our solutions for the climate change will be imperfect, but there are new ideas and they are forming. So don't get trapped into any sense of that's not work. It's not worth doing because it's not perfect, or not because everybody isn't doing it. There's no point recycling. I heard someone say there's no point recycling. Look what's happening in these countries. It's a complete waste of time. That's a trap. So be curious about what's coming up, but don't expect it to be perfect. Just be curious as to what's new. And one of the questions is to ask and explore, what is it that you're going to let go of? And I'd love to do just another quick breakout room to explore just very, very quickly what programs or limiting beliefs or boxes. I'm like this, they're like this. What are you going to let go of? And what are you going to do with this strength, this power, this freedom, this gift? So what are you going to let go of? What's been plaguing you? And if you didn't have that, what could you let go of? And sometimes some of the boxes is, oh, I can't do that because I'm too old, or I can't do that because I'm too young, or I can't do that because I'm this, or I'm this, or that. This is a chance to let go of that and to reinvent, to release, and come up with new ways of things. And what would you do with that? Well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So I'd love you to go into breakout rooms. Again, the very simple rule is you've got to look pleased, but not manic when you see. I need to just do something here. Move it to the next slide. There we go. So go to Mentimeter, menti.com, use the code 2529211. And what will you let go of? What will you let go of? Label. Oh, I love that. I love that. Labels. People pleasing. Fantastic. Fear. Wow.
Norma
Self-limiting.
again is saying, what did I just see come up there? Past hurts, negative beliefs about myself.
Nice. Other people's judgments, people pleasing. And it's interesting, some of the stuff that we're wanting to let go of, there will have been experiences in the last year that will have helped you do that, or challenged you or stretched you in some way. Anxiety, judgment. The other thing that really moves me with this, and I read this, is I do this all over the world with all communities, and it's just the nature of all of us being human. We have the same stuff that we're all struggling with. We haven't seen any wives or husbands yet appearing in the it's always a relief. We did have that one time. Got quite big at one point.
That's a sense of duty.
That's a sense of duty, baby. Yeah, very true.
But people pleasing, another one that couldn't get on has said people pleasing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be bigger as well.
That's always been my big one.
Yeah, definitely, and me.
Yeah, and if you look at the vitality test, you look at the energies, you can see it's a very people pleasing is a very fire and earth thing to do. Wonderful. So, yeah, sadness is sadness and loneliness I've experienced. I'd like to let go. Yeah, that's been I lost a lot of people last year. A lot of people.
So this just brings to mind for many people, if they couldn't think of anything they'd like to let go of, there's definitely something there that they would see that they would like to let go of.
Yeah.
But amazing, fear has stayed the main thing most of the time.
Yeah. Well, I think it is in Chinese philosophy, fear is related to water energy, and it tends to get worse when we get tired, or it can get a bit worse when kind of it's tiredness. And I think a lot of us have tiredness and change. So a lot of us there's been a lot of change, a lot of isolation, a lot of fatigue, change. So it can be lovely. I'm going to flip back to the slides now, and we'll just carry on letting that form, and I'll so we're just coming into the home straight now. So that's your Mentimeter, which I'll pop on the page for you, but that was lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So your third guiding principle is be kind, and it's be kind to yourself and others. Because one of the things that we have this year particularly, is whatever it is that we do this year, we're literally planting seeds for the future. So that's why they're kind of keeping it steady, letting go of the past, embracing it, being curious about the new, and being kind to yourself and kind to others. We've had a really, really tough time. And like I say, that will grow. The smallest of acts now about self-care, self-kindness, self-forgiveness. And the 5 Institute, kindness is our big thing. It's what we do. We're about internal and external cultures. How do you live with yourself, and how do we live together? That's what we're about. But our big driver is kindness. And one of the things we have is something called your kind set. It's like your mindset, except it's all about kindness. And it gets you to ask these 3 questions. Is it kind to me? Is it kind to others? And is it kind to the planet? And I have never, ever met anybody that is too kind. never once have I met anybody that is too kind. I have met lots of people that are out of balance and they're being too kind to other people at the cost of themselves, or in some way, or being too kind to themselves at cost to the planet. So you cannot be too kind, you can just be out of balance. And this is a year that if we embrace that, we plant the seeds for the future, and particularly self-care and self-kindness and forgiveness, remembering that that metal energy can be a very hard taskmaster. It wants perfection, it wants to look for what's missing, what isn't right, but it's trying to do that to make the world a better place, not to beat yourself up. So people with a lot of metal energy have qualities that want to improve the world. So we're being asked to examine and raise our game, to elevate ourselves, not to beat ourselves up for what we failed to do or lack of perfection or this is missing. So just be aware that those are the traps, but self-kindness, self-care, looking after yourself, keeping it steady is vitally important. So whatever you plant will grow. And similarly, if you were to kind of lock horns or get triggered by red flags of people waving things at you, because there will be triggers this year that people will wind us up with black and white thinking of views or differences. That is the danger, and it is the danger to lock horns, but that is an issue, and that could cause division between people, of separation. You're like this and you're like that, and the fear will do that as well. But ultimately this year, if we choose kindness, we operate from that place. It is a magnificent year to be kind to ourselves, and that steadiness that we can create to practice that rhythms and routines of eating well, being with your family or friends, looking after yourself, practicing that self-love, self-kindness, self-care, supporting yourself and choosing kindness. This is an absolutely, utterly magnificent year, and it sets the scene for what will come. We are all, whatever age we are, we're now the equivalent of the children of the 60s. We have a choice as to how we want the world to be, and this year lays the foundation of how we want the world to be as we saw that. So we're making a lot of choices at the moment, how we want politics, consumerism, spirituality. This is an opening up, and we're born at this time to be part of that decision making. And again, we're never too old to be part of that process, to be part of that decision making process. And I quit my acupuncture practice, sold the health center I had, got rid of everything in order just to try and get the message that we just need to choose kindness, keep it steady, and we will create a magnificent future. So what we're going to do now is go into part 4, and this is for the people that are here live. We're going to have a conversation, talk about things, and do some tips and tools, whatever. So if you're listening to this recording, thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. And I think that's it, Jackie. I'm going to stop sharing. We shall take some questions. And if we, yes. So shall we